Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to show you what will hopefully be one of many cute Halloween crafts on my channel this year. This cute shaker card features some Lawn Fawn stamps and some Avery Elle stamps. So let's get started showing you how I made it. I've been using my Cricut a lot lately to make my shaker cards. For this one, I'm doing the same that I've done in a couple of my previous videos. I use my Cricut to cut out some basic circles, and this is going to make a raised window for all my shaker elements. I'm simply gluing them together using some children's PVA glue, stacking them one on top of the other, and just running it between my fingers to make sure the glue spreads out a little bit and so that they're kept fairly neat and line up nicely. Once that's done, I then put a bit of glue on the inside of my circle and I run this around with my finger. This kind of seals it all up so that there's no gaps between those layers of paper or cardstock, whatever one that you use, and so that none of the shaker elements get stuck in there. So these are the stamps that I'm using today: the Peek-a-Boo Pals Spooktacular set by Avery Elle and the Spooky Village set by Lawn Fawn. The whole idea behind this card was that these three little trick-or-treaters are peering down into, I don't know, maybe a cauldron or a bowl, picking their lollies out, and so I wanted it to look like they were looking down in it, and the point of view of the card is maybe the bottom of that cauldron looking up, so you can see the night sky behind them, the little houses behind them, and their sweet little faces poking in, with their little hands holding on to the edges of the cauldron. As you can see, I have stamped out all the images that I'll be using, and here are the markers that I kind of used. I did stick mostly to these, but I did throw a couple of extra ones in as I went along. Sometimes it just happens, especially when I let myself use a range of colours instead of sticking to a very limited colour scheme. I don't think I went too overboard with all the colours that I used. I think I stuck to a decent amount. I will leave you with some music as I colour these images in. That was a lot of colouring in, wasn't it? That just seemed to go on for a while. It's amazing that this scene in this card is just so small, yet there's so much work in that tiny little window. Okay, on to the background and sky of this one. I used mustard seed, spiced marmalade, and seedless preserves for this. I feel like they were good Halloween colours and kind of like a nice sunset colour as well. I did a couple of different backgrounds, I was just playing around with them, and this is the one that I ended up settling on. As you can see, I've got two here rather than just the one, so I was playing around with the other one where it kind of looked like the moon, but it just didn't really look as good with my little characters. I also stamped some bats in these backgrounds, but I realised when I put the little people on them that you couldn't even see those bats, so I didn't show when I stamped them out because they got covered. I just glued these down with some PVA glue and then glued my little characters down too. And as you can see, they totally covered those bats. Once they were dry, I then stamped in some bats that you could actually see. I feel like these are really cute. I love those Lawn Fawn stamps. I then trimmed off the excess little bits of the images that were hanging over the edge. It was then all nice and smooth and ready to be the background for my shaker window. I kept the background for my card base very simple. I wasn't going to do anything too decorative and crazy because my little scene was already so full on. So I used some plain pattern paper. I know it doesn't look plain on that side, but this is the side that I used. This one's by Doodlebug, and I knew I was never going to use the basketball side, but the star side was really cute, so I decided to use that. Just before I prepped my shaker window to stick down, I coloured the inside with a dark grey marker. It may seem like a little thing, but I found that the white on the inside was really bright and I kind of wanted it to blend in and not stand out so much. First I glued down the scene with the people and the little houses, and then around that I glued down the ring that I had made. I also glued around the very inside of this, oh my head's in the way there, so that none of my shaker pieces would slip under where they meet up. I then just put my stamping platform on top so that it would apply even pressure so that it would all adhere nicely. I threw a quick sentiment together using one of my Lawn Fawn banners. They are my favourite dies, I swear I've been using them in nearly every project, and I used some embossing ink to stamp Happy Halloween, and I used that cute little ghost from that little spooky village stamp set. I used some plain white embossing powder for this one, and then I took it over to my kitchen to emboss. For my shaker elements, I used a range of things for this one. I used some of these half pearls in like a dark purple and a tealy colour that matched my witch's hair and my little Frankenstein skin. I also used some tiny little star-shaped sequins. I guess they're not really sequins, just some little star-shaped pieces. And these little gems. I also used some of the little lollies from the Year 7 stamp set by Lawn Fawn. Before tipping all these pieces in, I gave them the best chance possible to not get all weird and static by running my powder tool in there first. Here I am just cutting out a piece of acetate. I'm just using a marker so that I know roughly where to cut this circle out. And then again, I'm just using some plain PVA glue to stick that on. You won't see this line in just a minute because I have another piece of cardstock to stick over the top. And here it is. I picked plain black to match the sentiment for a bit of continuity on the front of the card. It was then time for my favourite part of using the Avery Elle stamps. These Peek-a-Boo characters are just adorable and I love how they can hold on to things. So I decided they weren't just going to hold on to the edge of this cauldron to peer in, they were also going to hold on to a lolly each. I trimmed the excess piece of banner that was hanging over the edge and put some double-sided tape on the back of my card front. I then stuck it down on my card base. As tempted as I was to start shaking it, I decided to add just a few more little embellishments on the front. I used some of the same shaker pieces that I put in my window on the front of my card, just placed sporadically around it in groups of 3. And there we have it. The card was finished. I am so happy with it. I'm just so excited to get started on the spooky season. I know it's a little early, but it's my favorite time of year. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can come back and see what else I make for Halloween and Christmas. I've got so many things I'm so excited to share with you. I'm going to leave you with some pictures of the finished card. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll come back soon. Bye for now.